Hey y'all, Nani here. Welcome back to my channel. You can call me Nani. Please, please like, comment, and subscribe and share. Likes, comments, subs, and shares all help to move my channel up where others that need it can find it. And today I want to talk about a topic that might be a little bit triggering for some of you. It's about childhood trauma. So if you feel like that is not something you want to listen to, or is going to trigger some old memories for you or bad feelings, please, keep it moving and go watch something else, because I certainly don't want to cause anybody any unneeded trauma. But if you are a trauma survivor, welcome. And I want to applaud you for still being here in this world. Obviously, you are an incredibly strong person, and you've made it through that part of your life. I do believe that there is a trauma spectrum, much like there's a spectrum on learning disabilities, that kind of thing. And it's not a comparison game of whose pain is worse, okay? What it is, and again, I am not a doctor, I am not a therapist, I have not been medically trained. I'm a subject matter expert because I lived 7 years from the age of 4 to 11 of being sexually assaulted every single day on a daily basis. And even with that, there was a spectrum. Some days weren't as bad as others. But there was always the fear that something worse would happen. And some days were more benign, where and I'm not going to ever go into detail about what particularly happened to me specifically, because I don't think it's necessary. And also, I do not want to provide any salacious content for people with ugly intentions that are watching to enjoy. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to let you know that there were better days than others. They're all pretty crappy when you're living in a situation like that. But again, even in that situation, some days are better than others. So that's why I believe there's also a trauma spectrum. There's losing your dog or a beloved animal. And then you've got something all the way up to being raped, mutilated, and left for dead. Do you know what I'm saying? I would say that one of these things is more traumatic than the other. And if I was given the choice to experience one or the other, I would choose the first one. It doesn't mean I hope one of my dog dies or anything like that. I've already, I'm 50, so I've already lived through many animals dying, and it's heart-wrenching, it's heartbreaking, and it can take a while to get over, and there's always a little piece of your heart missing. And you'll see something here or there that reminds you of that beloved animal, and it'll hurt your heart a little bit. But I do think that healing from something like that is a different healing altogether. And I think it's something that is attached ultimately to happy memories. The latter is not attached to any happy memories. I don't look back at my childhood and think, well, the name I've chosen for the asshole that abused me is this bitch. So it's not like I look at my past and I'm like, well, I mean, this bitch may have sexually assaulted me every day for 11 years, but he took me to Disney World once and I had a great time. You know, like me and my mom went and I got a real cool Mickey Mouse balloon and I got a Mickey Mouse doll and I got a Mickey Mouse hat. I got all the stuff I wanted. No. In fact, a lot of those pictures are very triggering for me, just to go back and look at pictures, because there are things that happened on days that were pretty significant in my life that would be just significant days for anyone, holidays for instance. There's one in particular, and again, I won't go into detail, but there was an absolutely, probably one of the most horrific experiences that I had in my childhood, happened on an Easter Sunday when I think I was 8. And in those pictures, you see me sitting and smiling and excited because the Easter Bunny came. And I was excited the Easter Bunny came. In those pictures, the first set, sorry, I gotta wet my whistle. You can see how excited I am. I'm in my pajamas and I'm ready to do the egg hunt and find my candy and all of that. And then later, when we're getting ready for church, I'm in my, Sunday best. And I believe the incident had already happened. But I still am just like, holding my Easter basket, smile on my face. There's no way you would ever know that there was something wrong with me, or that there was something up, that I was upset about, or that I was fighting through. So kids have an uncanny way of pushing through that pain. And that's why my therapist, who I eventually went to see about this much later in life. I wish I would have gone to therapy much sooner. I do plan on finding another therapist, but in 2019 I did find one, and I wanted to do EMDR therapy, which is it's a rapid eye movement therapy. I'm not going to explain it right because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but it is EMDR, and it stands for, it's EMDR. I just know it's rapid eye movement therapy. Okay, so, and it's where they have you, follow their fingers back and forth. And so it's rapid eye movement and you follow their fingers. I went to a therapist who did EMDR. This is the therapist I've mentioned before. And her EMDR was me to hold like two things that clicked, like it had a string in the middle, and then no, they were like air, so you would squeeze it and it was like air, and you go like that, right? That's the kind of sound they would make, because they were, as you squeeze them, air was coming out. And then you can keep your eyes open and like have a fixed position of where you want to look, or close your eyes, whatever you want to do. So that right there threw me off, because the rapid eye movement part of it is what is supposed to be the therapeutic thing that doctors are finding is being very helpful with patients with PTSD and all that other stuff, which of course I have. PTSD, or complex PTSD, DID, and there's some other things thrown in there, which I'll talk about later. And I've mentioned the DID thing before. But she didn't do that. And I thought that was the whole point of it. Is something about the rapid eye movement changes how your brain processes the information. It rewires it, so to speak. So that, now I do know that there are alternatives to rapid eye movement therapy because there are some people that can't do the eye movement thing. It makes them dizzy or whatnot, which I totally respect and understand. For me, she didn't even try it. Like, that's not even part of her treatment. She goes straight for the little squeezers, and that's it. And her guidance also wasn't good. She was just like, okay, just squeeze them and then tell me what you think. And I'm like, think about what? Like, it hasn't been 50 years since the abuse, but it's been many, many years. Okay, so it's been 39 years or 41 years since my abuse. Like, I need guidance here. I need you to, ask me questions or something, you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't understand. What am I supposed to be? She's like, just whatever comes into your mind, just start talking about it. And I'm like, okay, well, all I'm thinking about is like, oh, what are we going to do about dinner? You know what I mean? Like, I felt weird and uncomfortable, coming out and saying the things that I needed therapy for. So, and I do think that it is critically important to get therapy because, as I said the other day in my acceptance video, I 100% believe that experience of extreme sustained trauma within my very young, formidable years, between 4 and 11, I lost my train of thought, which is nothing new. But I do think that created my problems with my physical body. And the shame of it is that my particular condition, because it's an invisible illness, so is childhood sexual abuse. It's invisible. Nobody knows it's going on. Nobody can see what's happening to you. So you spend your days communicating with your friends at school, communicating with your teachers, communicating with your other parent, and trying to pretend like everything's okay. And again, it's our superpower that tells us, hey, I got this. And that's how you end up becoming fragmented, because there's parts of you that can't take over. Do you know what I mean? So there might be a part of you, if there would be days where something would be happening to me physically by this bitch, and my mom would be in the other room and she would have no idea. She would be hollering back about, you want chicken or steak for dinner, that kind of stuff. And this bitch would be answering back, let's do steak, la 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 la, all the while I'm being physically violated. And it could be in a way where if my mom came walking in the room, it could easily be stopped and nothing would look awry, right? So, I think that's part of where the fragments come into part, where you start fragmenting, because there's parts of you that are capable of getting up and going. Because imagine, like, being an adult, right? And, like, something horrific like that happens to you. I'm sorry, I'm calling in sick to work for, like, forever. You know what I mean? But as a kid, you don't have those choices. You have to continue on as if nothing has changed, because you're being told by the abuser, this is our secret. You've been groomed for a while there. Your other parent has also been groomed. And I want to make that clear. Like, it's not just the child that is being groomed, it is the other parent that's being groomed. And I wish I knew the name of that documentary that you all should go watch. Oh, this is going to drive me crazy. I will find what it is and I'll put it in the description, because this documentary explains so well how easy it is to groom an entire family. It's not just the child. These abusers are people in the workplace. Some of them have upper, like this bitch, not me, like my abuser, this bitch. He had a status job, right? Like, he was locally famous. So you would never think, like, there's no way this guy, no. But yeah, it happened. And the reason that I wanted to bring it up is because I do believe that it holds the key to at least somewhat healing my body. I am wanting to start some other nutritional types of things that might help me, with my body. I know I need to find a new therapist. One of the other reasons I didn't care for her, I liked some of her stuff. I loved that she said it was a superpower. That made me feel really good about it. Like, wow, that really is a superpower of a kid, to be able to compartmentalize and fragment everything that's going on and be like, okay, well, this thing is happening, but my mom just came in the room, and I'm easily able to be like, yeah, chicken sounds great, Mom. I love your chicken. And then immediately when she leaves the room, you just go right back to being abused. So I do think, for me, when my doctor spoke to me about DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, for me, I don't consider it personalities. I know that there are a lot of people that do, and I absolutely 100% respect how you are processing and handling your trauma, because that's your trauma, that's your journey, that belongs to you. It's not my place to say that you're wrong. I'm just sharing my experience, which is I don't have altars that tell me their names, or that I learn their names, or anything like that. I do have a multifaceted personality, absolutely. And some people would tell you, oh, she's definitely got multiple personalities. But also I'm a Gemini, and I'm very theatrical. So, but I do believe that there are parts of me that are able to do certain things. What is that? We had a spider issue here a few days ago, so I'm just checking around, because if something happens, I'm getting the F out of the car. Okay? All right. Anyway, so what was I saying? Okay, so the way that my therapist explained to me is that you can call them alters, you can call them parts, you can call them personalities, you can call them whatever you want. You can think of them as a system or as a family of people or whatever. For me, I always had a hard time with the concept of different personalities, especially when you're talking about different personalities that take over. So for instance, let's say, this is for an example, I do not have this. I have a personality named Kristen, who's 15 years old, and she's a sassy little bitch, right? And, she comes out whenever I'm feeling extra stressed or whatever. For me, that's not how it manifests. I don't have anyone coming out. I don't believe in personalities or different people living in my body, because I believe there is one soul. So for me, I always wonder, well then, if you do believe that these are different personalities, like different, completely, totally different people from you, right? What happens when you die? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a God-fearing, Bible-thumping, I hate religion, but I am spiritual. I do believe in a higher power. I don't go by the Bible, and I think religion is complete bullshit. And I'm sorry if that offends anyone. I don't mean to find that offensive, but that is my opinion. I just believe it's complete bullshit. But there's lots of people that I know, my husband is one of them, that absolutely follows a religion and reads the Bible, and it brings him comfort and peace, and I'm all about that. If it brings you comfort and peace, as long as it's not hurting you, like, doing heroin, well, that brings me comfort and peace. No. But if believing in Jesus and the Bible, or the God of the Bible, and believing in the Bible and everything that the Bible says, if that brings you peace and joy, listen, I don't think we can have enough peace and joy in this world, so by all means. And I would encourage it with any of my children if they wanted to seek that lifestyle. My kids grew up knowing about God. I grew up knowing about God, like, Christianity. But I also allowed my kids to form their own opinions. Um, and none of them really, they don't follow your typical Christian stuff. But I do believe that that is how my grandchildren are going to be raised. I'm all for that. If I need to go to a Easter hunt at a church, I'm there. If I need to go to a Christmas service because my hippo wants me to go, I'm there. If I need to read Bible stories to him, I'm there. Pray with him, talk to him about God, I'm there. Because I can talk to him about the God of my childhood, the one I grew up with. And I know a lot about Jesus and the Bible and stuff like that just based on stuff that I was taught as a child, because my grandma would always take me to church. And I love my grandmother dearly. And she gave me a wonderful foundation of spirituality. And, she didn't know I would one day grow up to not follow your typical Christianity path. And she's passed away now, but I absolutely do believe that she would be very happy that I do believe there's a creator and a higher power and all that. So, excuse me. But what I was going to say, I made notes. I started a notebook because I keep having so many ideas of videos that I want to do. And I'm a forgetful person because of my brain fog and such. Sorry, I thought I heard someone scream help. Okay, anyway. So, parents of kids that have been sexually assaulted, and your kids come out to you and tell you this, whether it's something they're coming out to you when they're little, or you find out by mistake, or they come and they sit you down and they tell you, or whatever the case is. Even if you're going to be mad at that person that hurt your baby, clearly. But I beg of you, do not react in anger. Don't return it with, he did what? He did what to you? What are you saying to me? Or she, I'm just using it as mine was a he. Absolutely, young boys can be sexually assaulted, and older boys can be raped, all of the above. And vice versa, the predators can be women, 100%. But I'm just using these analogies based on me. So, I just ask that you don't act out in anger, because all it does is make the child, no matter how old they are, if they're 20, if they're 12, if they're 2, whatever the case is, however you found out, and when you talk to them about it, you have to come from a place of love, kindness, compassion. Even if you don't know what it's like to experience that, you need to come from a place of empathy and sympathy. Talk slowly. Assure them everything's going to be okay. Don't use anger words. Keep your voice calm, because children will always, always, always find a way to blame themselves. And a lot of the reason for that is their abuser has spent years making them feel like what's happening is their fault. And telling them, don't ask them like, why didn't you come and tell me sooner? Because I promise you, first of all, that's going to make them feel awful. Again, it's going to make them feel like they did something wrong when they did 0% wrong. And that's the way they should come away from whatever conversation that you have with them. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I can tell you from experience, your child should not come away from any of these discussions feeling in any way like they did something wrong, like they made the wrong choice. They need to come away feeling loved, supported, embraced, that they're safe with you. Anything they say to you, anything they come to you about is safe. They feel safe. That's the most important thing for any survivor, especially children, is to feel safe sharing what happened to you with them. Because what happened, even though it's not their fault, at the time that they're coming to you about it, they don't know that it's not their fault. It can take decades to understand that it's not their fault. It's a shameful experience. Unfortunately, it feels very shameful for many different reasons because it's a sexual act. Somehow we just inherently know that that's wrong. It feels wrong. Our instincts are telling us this is wrong, even if your dad or your mom or whoever your perpetrator is telling you, and it's someone that you respect and love very much, this is okay. This is okay. Everybody does this. I want to have a special relationship with you. This is our special relationship. Nobody else needs to know about our special relationship. That builds you up. That makes you feel like, oh, they love me so much. We have a special relationship. I mean, think about excuse my language, the mind fuck that these kids go through for years. Because most of the time, they're probably being abused for years. And it's usually by someone they know. On the topic of prosecution of the perpetrator, speaking only as a person that was abused, and I think that things are going to change. But when I was abused, it was many decades ago, and when I finally was ready to say, hey, I'm not cool with what happened and I want to prosecute, my abuser, I was told, I called the authorities or whatever, and I was told, oh, you're way past this, what's the word? Damn it, what are they called? That's why I took notes. You are way past hold on. Statute of limitations in your state. Each state is different. But I was told at 21 that the statute of limitations is 10 years. So that means the last day that I was abused. So I know the last, year. I don't know the last day. Let's just say I was 11. Okay. Well, I was 23 3 or 4 by the time I decided, and this is after I had kids, I was like, I'm finally ready to do this, to prosecute this man. Prosecute. And I was told, oh man, you only had 10 years. That means I would have had to, at the age of 21, that being the, the latest I could have prosecuted 21. I wasn't ready by the time I was 21. I was having a baby. I wasn't thinking about that at the time. I was thinking about, how am I going to survive? I'm having a baby. But what I was going to say to that is, it is the child's decision, and I know it's very difficult for a child to decide if they want to pursue legal action. And I'm not sure what the laws are now. At the time, I was 15 when I finally came out to my mother. The sick, twisted part of all this is that when they divorced, he got visitation rights. So every other weekend, I had to go to his house. I only have a few memories of that. I don't know why that is. The ones that I can remember, I don't remember any abuse happening at that time. Maybe there's other times abuse did happen and I blocked it out. I don't really know. And there's other things DID wise that I just find very interesting that I do want to get into. But not in this video because it's so late. But I just want to encourage parents that when your kids come to you, no matter what age, that you listen and that you 100%, without a doubt, believe them. And you let them know straight up. And whether it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 2 minutes ago, that you don't just say, well, that was 20 years ago I was married to him. Why didn't you tell me then? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're ready now. So the only thing you should be saying is, I'm here for you. I love you. You're safe with me. Tell me more. What can I do to help you? These children need therapy. 100 bazillion% they need therapy. I didn't get any therapy. Once I said the thing where I told my mom it happened, I said it, and then we never talked about it again for a long time. And I think a lot of that is because it was in the 80s and nobody knew that this existed. This isn't something you discussed at the dinner table. This isn't stuff they put in magazines. They didn't do stories on this. But I do remember, I think there was something that possibly saved me and maybe ended my suffering early, and that was that one day my parents had a prescription for something called D magazine, which stands for, it's D magazine. It stands for Dallas, and at the time that's where I lived. But this bitch caused me caught me reading the magazine, and it was about being sexually abused by one of your parents. In this story, it was a parent of the opposite sex, which it was a girl telling the story. It was the dad doing the abusing. And I had never in my life, I was reading it and I was like, well, this is what's happening to me. This is what I'm doing. This is what this bitch is doing to me. Like, and now I'm reading that it's not okay. Like, first of all, there's other people that experience this, and now this magazine article is saying it's not okay. And Mike caught me reading it, and shortly after that, he left. Sorry, I said his name. This bitch. Shortly after that, he left. Thank God. And many years later, then he died, which I have no issue with. I do not forgive him. And for me, the reason that I don't forgive him, I do believe in forgiveness a lot. And I believe in giving people grace. Because everybody messes up and makes mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was a thoroughly planned out, day in and day out, purposefully done assault, daily assault on a little girl. And so he doesn't get my forgiveness, but I also don't live in a world where I hate him. When he was alive, I never thought awful things like, I hope he gets kidnapped and tortured and whatever. I never wished those kinds of things on him. I am glad he's dead. I'm glad he is not walking the earth with me any longer. It makes me feel safer. It honestly does. I'm glad he didn't die a horrible death. It was quick and painless from what I understand, and it was something I read in a news article. So, but what I was going to say, because I got to go, I got to end this, is just believe your kids when they tell you, get them therapy. I don't know what the law is around prosecuting. I don't know if they give you the choice that they gave back then. Kind of like if you have a husband that's beating you physically, you have no choice. If the cops come over and your face is beaten to a pulp and your husband's hands are bloodied, he's going to jail. It doesn't matter if you want to press charges or not. I don't know if that's the same for child abuse. I think it possibly might be, but again, it all varies between your state, so I would check your state. But I would absolutely make sure that your child gets tons and tons and tons and tons of therapy. If you have to get a smaller house to be able to pay for therapy, if you have to sell your car and get a shittier car to pay for therapy, if you have to if one of you, anyway, one of your family has to get a second job, or if everyone in the family can chip in for therapy, whatever the case is, whatever you have to do, get this child therapy, because without it, it's not going to manifest well. Okay, it's not going to manifest well. They may continue on fragmenting, and they may continue on to where they are also diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. That, they can start treating their PTSD immediately. And they can start living healthier, happier lives a lot sooner than I had the opportunity to. They can avoid chronic illness. There's so many benefits to therapy, and your child deserves that after all, and you need therapy too, as a parent of a child that's gone through something that traumatic. I cannot imagine what it would feel like to be a parent of a child that was abused and mistreated like that at such a young age. That would rip my heart out. And I know I would need therapy for that. Therapy to heal myself, and then therapy to help me how to dialogue with my child in a way that they always feel safe and they always feel nurtured, and I'm not making them feel like it's their fault, and that I'm communicating to them over and over and over again without having to say it. This isn't your fault, because it's not like this is something that you're going to be talking about at the dinner table for years on end. Do you know what I mean? This is something that you will talk about, here and there. And it shouldn't be something that you sit down and you talk about every single day, because they need a break from that shit. Like, they need to just be children. This is their time now to be children. So that's why I'm saying they need therapy. They need a set up time where they speak to the therapist. Mom comes in and is told. They talk about the therapy together, and they talk about next steps, right? Like, okay, what's the next step? What's the next goal? And I think that they do put goals into place and stuff like that. So I think that's everything I wanted to touch on today. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because it is such a huge part of my chronic illness journey and what caused my chronic illness. I know I've talked about it before, but because I do want to go more into the DID part of it, I wanted to touch base on this, on childhood trauma. And again, I am not a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I'm just a survivor. And I can tell you what would have benefited me, and I can tell you what didn't benefit me. What didn't benefit me was not talking about it after the first time I brought it up. What didn't benefit me was not having therapy sessions for myself or with myself and my mother as a tool to help guide us through this because the experience is so different, right? Between her experience with this person and her memories with this person are so completely different than the memories and the experience that I have with this person. And how do you navigate that? You know what I mean? So that's it for now. That's all I wanted to talk about for now. I hope that if you have any comments, please feel free to share. Even if you think I ain't a bunny rabbit. Sorry, even if you think I'm completely wrong, you are entitled to your own opinion. And surprisingly, my husband would be surprised to hear this anyway. I don't know everything, so I can only speak of my very own experience. But I would love to hear from you if you have an experience that you want to share. Again, please feel free to privately, if you want it to be private, feel free to privately contact me at my email address, which is nonibanana2020@gmail.com. That's NONIBANA. Wait, BANANA. I had the worst time spelling banana. Noni, 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 banana, BANANA, 2020 at gmail.com. I do have an Instagram. I have no idea what it is right now. I think it's You Can Call Me Nani. I don't have a lot of stuff on there because I still don't really get, like, why do you have different things? I don't know. But, anyway, most of the rest of my things will be done during the daytime, but I was doing a lot of writing and thinking today because I finally started a notebook of things that I want to write about and talk about, and this happened to be one of them. I am very passionate about this subject because for me, children are our absolute most precious treasure. And I love kids, and they should be treated with the utmost respect and love, and dignity and honor that you would give anyone else. Adult, military, priest, preacher, anyone that would hold authority, police officers. Children should be treated with the same respect that you would treat one of those authority figures or just a stranger on the street. You know what I mean? Like, they should get the most respect, the most love, the most support in my book. Because they're kids. And, shit, they've earned it. They haven't done anything to screw me over yet, so, you know, like every other adult. Anyway, thank you for listening. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment or send me an email. I hope you have a beautiful evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.